I get up before the rooster, put on my camo, load up my bow and my rifle and stock the ammo. I'm a bullet with the bullet, but I'm lethal with the arrow. Always down for the hunt, dove turkey and big bucks. Hit the woods and get fitted up. Mossy oak all across my fit, don't be surprised, we do this too.
I be up before the sun with my 30 at 6. Hard body on, I ain't worried about the kick. We do this too.
Welcome back, y'all. It's another edition of the We Do This Too Outdoors podcast. And as always, we are presented to you in partnership with brands that we feel represent the very best of the outdoor industry. So before we get started, we'd like to give a special shout out to Moultrie Products, Ullers Archery, Threads Custom Bowstrings, G5 Outdoors, Blackburn Apparel Company, Deer Pip Scents and Lures, Vision Clothing, Bluebird Waterfowl Company, Angry Chicken Outdoors, Alps Outdoors, and last but certainly not least, a special shout out to the good folks over at Briley's for leaving a legacy of shooting innovation. Whether you need new cameras to elevate the scouting experience, new arrows, or anything for your archery setups, clothing, scent, or whatever it may be, as a supporter of the podcast, you can use promo code WDTT-PROMO. That's WDTT-PROMO for 15% off anything on the website at ullersarchery.com. Some exclusions may apply. With that being said, let's dive into another episode of the We Do This Too Outdoors podcast with your host, Mr. Courtney Williamson.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the We Do This Too Outdoors podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Williamson. I've got a super special guest on today, Mr. Wild Game James. How you doing, my brother?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir, man. It's been a long time coming. I know we had to cancel a few times because of the holidays and stuff going on, man, but blessed to have you on, man. Love what you're doing in the outdoors. Your Instagram page is fantastic. So anybody out there, follow Wild Game James. See what this brother's doing. He's really breaking down some stereotypes and some barriers out there for people of color, and I love what he's doing, man.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir, man. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and we'll get into it, man.
Yeah. So it seems like a lot of the guys that you've had on here are really around from the same area. I'm here from Central Florida. I'm here in Orlando. Didn't come from a hunting background or anything like that, but I found it, learned to love it, and I'm deep off in it, right? So I usually hunt private, North Florida. I do travel sometimes to hunt. Got a couple friends from Florida to Idaho where I can go and test my skills. And man, whatever it is, like you say, big game, small game, all game, right? So
that's right.
This is what I'm out. This is it, man. I'm ate up about it.
I hear you, man. That's awesome. So who introduced you to the outdoors? How'd you get introduced to it?
So crazy story, man. It's not the easiest or the most common path, right? So I didn't come from a hunting background. Family didn't hunt, anything like that. I actually was born in Brooklyn, New York. So there's not a lot of opportunities for kids in the hood of New York, right? So going to school at the University of Missouri, and while I was out there, I was working at a Department of Corrections. While I was there, I was noticing these guys certain times of the year, they're talking about deer hunting and different things like that. So I was real close with one of them, had a farm, and he said, "Hey, listen, if you pay for the tag, I'll get you a deer if you want a deer." I was like, "All right." Yeah. So that year I did that. I paid for the tag. He went out, harvested deer, and I was like, "All right, that's cool." But I didn't know anything about deer hunting. I didn't know anything about picking up deer or anything like that. So I go there to his farm, get to the barn, and he's got a deer cut up, sitting there waiting on me, and I don't even have a cooler to pick it up. I didn't know anything about hunting. But it was so intriguing sitting there talking to those guys, so that the next year I was like, hey, I wanna shoot a deer. I want to hunt. So I went through everything, got my license and all that, and he said, you want a deer? I'll put you in the stand, you'll get a deer. Put me in the stand. I harvested that first deer. And I mean, it was a pretty crazy story about that too, if you don't mind me getting into it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So he put me in a stand, and like I said, I didn't know anything about hunting at all. I'm asking questions, but it I was just getting the bare minimum that I needed to know. So I'm sitting in the tree and he tells me before I even get in the stand, he's like, oh, you're going to get buck fever, or you're going to see its little brown eyes blinking at you, and you won't want to shoot. I'm like, why? That doesn't make any sense to me. If I'm here to hunt, that's what I'm going to do. Not even knowing that there's something called buck fever. Right. That's to tell you how much I knew nothing about hunting. And this time I'm in my early 20s. And so he puts me in the stand just before daylight, see a deer coming through, taking his time coming through. It's a doe. And she gets way too close. Because of course, me not knowing about hunting, I'm like, all right, this is the effective range. I'm waiting for her to almost like kiss my boots. So she comes in way too close. I get her in the scope, and she looks up at me with her big brown eyes, blinks at me 2 times, and I shot her in the head because I didn't know that a spot that you were supposed to aim for, a sweet pocket. I didn't know anything about it. So I harvested my first deer just because I wanted to hunt and not even knowing, everything that you needed to hunt. Like nowadays you have your hunter safety courses and different things like that. You've got YouTube and different things like that. But me, I just saw a couple guys going out hunting and I said, hey, can I try it? And that's how I started.
Man, that's a cool story. It really is, man. It's different than most people. And most people that I've had on here, it's usually like their father, their grandfather, their uncle, or somebody, or a mentor, or something like that. That's a cool story, man. And you shot the doe in the head.
Yeah. So when he came to pick me up, his name was Bobby Lunsford, and Bobby came and picked me up, and he said, "Oh my God, James, you shot her in the head." I was like, yeah. He's like, you're not supposed to shoot him in the head. So you didn't tell me where to shoot him.
Right. So how close was that doe to you? Pretty close to shoot it in the head, I'm sure. Or you just
she was
that good of a shot.
She was within 50 yards. She was easily within 50 yards. And I'm using, I think it was a 30-06 at the time.
Oh yeah. That deer's gone.
Yeah. Nah, no idea.
Well, that's cool, man. So, so you do a little bit of bow hunting too, as well, right?
Yeah. I'm fairly new. I'm only I'd say about 5-6 years in, but it's the same thing. I noticed that some guys were out shooting bows and stuff like that, so talked to them about it. And then one of my buddies, I had no idea that he was into archery as well. Never hunted, but just was into archery, target shooting here and there. And then, of course, me, I just wanted to incorporate it into hunting. And as soon as I found out that people were like serious bow hunters and different things like that, I just dove into it. My girlfriend for Christmas gave me a gift card, and I went and bought my first bow, and I've been once again ate up just like deer hunting or just wild game hunting. Yeah, I got ate up with bow hunting, and this year was a pretty successful year for me bow hunting as well.
That's awesome. What kind of bow do you shoot?
So like I've got my first bow. My first bow was a diamond archery. Like I said, my girlfriend, right? My girlfriend gave me a gift certificate And the first thing I did was went to Bass Pro and got a fairly decent bow. And they were like, yeah, you can hunt with this one. I was like, that's the one I want. So let's go. There was no trying it on, nothing like that. I bought what I could afford and fit myself to the bow, basically, and I love that bow to death. It's got some real nice accessories on it. But when it came time to, buckling down and saying that I want to harvest and I want to do it ethically and do it the right way, I went and got a Matthews. So I got the VXR. That's the one that's on the top up there. And I've got a fairly long draw length. I'm 6'3", and my draw length is like 30, 32. It should be 32 and a half, but I don't want to. I can stretch it out if I need to. But that bow back there is only a 28 because of the terrain that I hunt. Such close quarters. And when I'm in a tree and different things like that, because the way the pine trees are, I need that shorter axle. So that's only a 28. So the only thing I did was I extended the D loop by like a half inch or something like that. So I'm running like a 28 and a half draw on that bow. But that's a big difference. But when you want to hunt and you need the right tools for your terrain, you do what you got to do.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, my draw length, I'm 6'3" as well. My draw length's only 30 and a half, which is, I guess, fairly long for most people. But 32, once you get, back there, there's not too many bows. Well, they're making more bows now, but,
I know PSC has been in the game. PSC has been doing them. Hoyt's been doing the longer draw length bows. But I even know that Matthews is getting up there now. But like I said, it does me no good where I'm hunting. I've got to actually shorten everything and shorten my movements and different things like that.
It makes sense. You gotta make sure that you can get them shots off. Yeah, I got a buddy. He's about 6'7", 6'8". He's got like a 34, 35 somewhere in draw length. And at the time when I started shooting, Bowtech had just came out with I think it was called the CPXL. And he still to this day, that's what he's still shooting. Because he doesn't really hunt as much as he used to, but them longer draw lengths, man, there's it's you got just take that D loop out as far as you can get it, really, if you need that shorter bow. But I've had bad luck with Matthews. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, and I'm not bad mouthing Matthews, nothing like that. I'll probably end up going back to Matthews at some point. Maybe, I don't know. I love in my prime right now. But those Matthews, man, I had so many limb problems and cam problems, and like I said, it might have been me. It might have been the way I draw my bow. It might have been whatever, but I don't know. I'm just gonna shut up before somebody starts.
So
I know how people get about Matthews.
So for me, I've always been a guy that has been, adaptable. So I'm like, all right, I can fit in where most people can't, right? So with me, the VXR, it was more of small axle, quiet bow, because my diamond is, when it goes off, everybody knows I shot that bow.
Yeah, it's loud.
But that Matthews, it was just a nice quiet bow, and that's what it was. And then I just fit myself to that bow. It wasn't that, that I could probably get a shorter axle somehow, some way, get some draw length out of it. But this one right here, it was just the right tool for the job, and I just fit myself for that tool.
That's what's up. So I'm guessing where the shorter axle that you have, the most of the terrain that you hunt is you're in the timber. You're not hunting open fields or anything. Right.
There are some stuff, because the property that I hunt is vast, and you're able to design some areas for newer hunters and different things like that. But as you know, if you really want to go after anything that's fairly mature, you're going to have to go deep off into the woods, right? And that's the reason why it's like a lot a lot of leaners with very little pruning, a lot of saddle hunting, very little pruning. So you need that. You need the shorter footprint.
Gotcha. So you saddle hunt too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 300 some pounds, man. I just can't see myself getting up there. For one, I'm scared to death of heights. My buddy Justice, he's always laughing at me about that, but I just can't see myself getting up there in no tree stand or saddle. I'll take my chances on the ground, which I've had great success on the ground, but saddle, man, it seems I grew up around horses, and when you say saddle, to me, like if I'm sitting on a horse saddle all day hunting, that gets very uncomfortable to me in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know how true that is. I've never tested one out, but everybody that I know, like my best friend, he's a big saddle hunter. He loves it. But you know, everybody's got their own thing. Plus, that was like I thought that was a big fanboy thing when everybody's like, you know, wanting to go saddle hunting, but it seems like more and more people are getting into it. So I'm guessing it's got to be pretty comfortable to just sit in the tree all day like that.
It actually is. I was blown away, and for me, being as tall as I am, I was trying to figure out, okay, if I'm getting higher in the tree, where am I going to hide? How am I going to fit in this, right? And it actually works out. It's just so versatile, the way you can use it and the way you can hide from game. It is a game changer, man. It's what the Native Americans used at times, and you know, not exactly to the extent or the engineering that we have now, but they went in trees and hunted the same ways, and it's a game changer, man. It's so comfortable. They've got some with extra back panels, so that'll give you extra back support, different things like that. The pants that I wear, they come with some removable knee pads, so you could like lean your knees up against the tree and just sit down at times. It's very comfortable, very comfortable.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, you just hear about these new ways of hunting, and I'm old school. You know, ground line. I'll keep my buddy here and there with me now. I'm getting old, getting soft at my older age, but you know, I throw a ground line out there, throw some corn out there because we can bait here in Kentucky. I don't know about Florida, but and get in there.
We could bait as well.
Gotcha. Get in there, thug it out, you know, and but you just hear about all these new, you know, saddles and this and that, and I'm just like, is this really necessary? But the more people I see, like on, you know, Facebook and YouTube, Instagram, all your social medias, they seem like that's the new wave. So more props to you, man, for real.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. So growing up, I guess you grew up in Brooklyn. So when did you actually move to Florida?
I moved to Florida after college. So
okay.
Yeah. So I've been here for now since just before the 2000s, late 90s. Came here. My parents, they retired and came down to Florida. And I was like, well, you know, let's check it out. Let's see what we got. And I just came down here, followed them, and couldn't believe how much hunting was going on down here. It was an eye opener. You know, I wasn't into gator hunting or anything like that, right? So it wasn't the regular old Florida stuff. And when I got here and heard about the deer hunting and different things like that, it wound up being a place that I truly learned to love and I'm proud to call home.
That's what's up. Yeah, I've got a lot of buddies that hunt in Florida, and they seem to love it. Like I've had multiple invites to come to Florida to go hog hunting and just couldn't get my schedule right. But it seems like mostly everywhere you hunt. Have you hunted much public?
Not much public. Actually, it's only been less than 3 times I think I've hunted public, and I've gotten close. I've gotten real close. I can read terrain. I work winds, I work thermals, and the public game. I don't think I'd have a real issue with it, but I mean, I've got a ton of private land that I hunt, that I'm available to hunt. So I just kind of take the easy way. I'm not gonna lie. We can bait here in Florida as well, and got a lot of land at my disposal.
Yeah. So you're one of the unique specimens out there, because growing up in a place like Brooklyn, which is, considered, the hood, pretty rough place to grow up. Not a lot of people don't go vacation in a place like that. So growing up in a place like that, and then going to college, getting out of college, moving to Florida, and then you start hunting. That's like the type of end goal that I have for my brand, is to take some of these inner city kids from like places like Brooklyn, Memphis, New Orleans, Baltimore, like that,
Mm-hmm.
and teach them something new. Not saying that you were like getting into trouble or anything in Brooklyn, but that's like one of the places that, you can fall into pretty much anything, drugs, guns, gangs,
Right.
like that. But you came out of a place like that, and now, you see what you're doing. So it's kind of like an inspiration to some kid that might be out there that grew up kind of like in a place like that kind of wants to get into something different. It might not be outdoorsy. It might be, art or dance or whatever.
Right.
It lets them know that they can get out of it. You know what I'm saying?
And that's exactly how I wound up getting out of Brooklyn. When I was a kid, you looked up to the older kids, and I noticed that all the older kids were graduating and were still around. Like, hey, I thought you went to college. Yeah, I'm in college. What do you mean you in college? Oh yeah, I went to class this morning, but you still here, but you're still doing the same thing. So I decided when I was going to college, I was going to take the college that was furthest away and would take me. I wanted to get away. I wanted to see something different. I wanted to learn something different. And I wound up going out to Missouri, and the rest is history. I mean, it was an eye opener. It's a whole new world out, right? And it's not just these gray buildings and walls. There's a lot of nature out here. And I mean, I came to Florida. I learned how to fish and swim and everything like that here in Florida.
Right.
I was late 20s.
Yeah, man. It's like your eyes were open to a whole new way of life. Right. It's kind of like, I kind of got a similar story, because I grew up in a real small town here in Kentucky that I was like the only person of color growing up on any of my teams, sports teams like that, whatever. And there weren't a lot of us in our high school, so most of my friends were, Caucasian, which was cool. I didn't get a lot of flack from them, but I got some flack from, some others growing up. I would say I had a pretty rough life, because, I had both my parents. They had great jobs, but you could kind of tell the people that really rock with me and the people that really didn't rock with me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I got called a lot of names growing up, and I was a little fat kid in like my middle school days. So I was like, the little fat black kid walking around school. And then I hit a growth spurt. So my freshman year of high school, I kind of got taller, got a little bit skinnier and everything. And so the name calling kind of stopped, because I kind of got bigger than they did. So it was like,
right,
you don't want to smoke now.
Right.
But growing up where I grew up, and then 45 minutes down the road, you got a bigger city. 45 minutes up the road, you got a bigger city. So I went 45 minutes south and ended up going to Western Kentucky University. And when I got set foot on campus, culture shock, because I had never seen that many black people in one place before, besides like a family reunion. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I had been around, you know, mostly Caucasian people, and then I get down there, and it's everybody, but there's more people that look like me. That some of them grew up like me, some of them didn't, but they still knew the struggles that we go through day to day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was
Right.
easy
100.
to talk to them about stuff like that. You know, I had some friends that I confided in here about some of the stuff I was getting called and names and whatever. And they was like, man, you know, I'm here for you if you need me. I'm like, yeah, but you really don't know that feeling.
Right.
And
Right.
so it was good to, once I, you know, went to college, it was good to just see somebody that looked like me that I could actually confide in. And I didn't get that growing up, even in the outdoor industry, especially because everywhere I looked, you know, I loved the outdoors. I loved hunting. I loved fishing. But everywhere I turned, it was nobody that looked like me. So I'm like, am I like the only one? And then as I got older, started seeing more and more of us in different states and whatever. And I feel like we're the only one. We think we're the only ones in the particular state we're in. But when you bring us all together, there's thousands and thousands of us. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I feel like if some of these bigger name companies would kind of get on board with us and kind of let us show our way a little bit, I think that would draw us closer to getting to where race is not brought into anything. Because if I get with a guy, we pretty much grew up the same way. We're just of different colors. Once we start talking about fishing, hunting, how we grew up, race gets kicked out. You don't even think
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you, me, all these other black hunters and men and women of color that's doing this. We've all had those interactions where you're with someone and you can see their whole outlook and the way they're thinking about you change within the conversation. Yeah. Just because they're like, oh, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. Right. Oh, he actually, oh, you've done this. Oh, yeah, right. So it like you said, it's just one of those things where we're probably going to have a little more dialogue. We're going to have to keep doing what we've been doing, and you know, just being open about, you know, what we like to do and our love for hunting and being in the outdoors, and just keep being vocal about it, because people interact with us and they rock with us when they know that we're really about this. I think there's been a stigma, you know, from the olden days that, you know, that we don't actually stick to anything that we try, or, you know, we dibble and dabble. But when you got people who are 100% and locked in, you know, you really need to listen to these people no matter what they look like.
Right. And I feel like the newer age, like kids, they don't have that mentality. It's like the older generation, mostly in southern states. And that stuff is like passed down generationally. So, you know, somebody my age, 38, 39 years old, they still kind of have that old way of thinking. But like some of these newer kids that are growing up, you know, seeing the, you know, 24/7 hunt guys and seeing, you know, the Jim Caesars of the world, people like that, they don't have that same way of thinking. If you know, if you follow what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
You know, it's just like, hey man, I like these guys. I rock with them. I like what they stand for. You know, let's give them a follow. But somebody kind of, you know, in their 40s, maybe early 50s, they can still kind of got that. Well, let me test them out first. Let me see what they're about before I,
right,
you know, whatever. So, but I think it's slowly changing, especially in the outdoor world. You know, I don't think racism's ever gonna completely vanish. I wish it would, but hopefully we can get to a point in our country, man, where, you know, if I want to go hunt with you, and, you know, or vice versa. If race never gets brought up, we could just go have fun
Right.
as two men
Right.
that love the outdoors, same passion and whatever, just have fun. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Absolutely. And it's kind of funny because when you think about it, it's like you've got different levels of it. You've got people who are just like, all right, well, I'm not going to hunt with anybody that looks like that because there's no way they're going to know what they're doing. Right. You've got those guys. Then you got some people who are just like, it is what it is. If you could do it, all right, let's go. But it's not going to be open about, hey, if you're available or you want to do this, let's go. Right. And then you got the people like us who's like open to everybody. And it's just one of those things where, like I said before, if you have that conversation, if you have that dialogue, I think that those barriers will be broken down so easy. You just can't just be closed-minded about it. Right. And I've seen people of color be closed-minded also the other way.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
yeah, I was about to speak on that too.
Yeah. So we've got to be able to look ourselves in the mirror and also know that, hey, it goes both ways. Definitely.
Yeah. I've had more flack from our people than I had from anybody. And it's to the point where like you get messages and you get conversations and they're like, so you're a hunter, right? Yeah, I'm a hunter. Why? I was like, I enjoy it, puts food on my family's table. I enjoy it. And I love the meat, especially deer meat. I said, it's some of the best meat that you can get. And you fish too. Like, yeah, I'm a fisherman. I haven't fished in a while. I said, but my main thing is hunting. It's like, that's a white boy sport though. I'm like, no, it's not. That's what you see. And he's like, well, everybody I know, that does it is, Caucasian. I'm like, yeah, mostly that's what you see. But I've been doing this since I was 5, 6 years old. And it's just like, they want to down it. They want to downplay you. Like you never, you're not going to make it, you're just out there trying to fit in or whatever. And I'm like, no, like this is a passion of mine and I'm going to do it until the day I die, whether I'm fitting in or not. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I was watching this documentary the other day with I don't know if you've seen it. It's called the 30 for 30 on Randy Moss.
No, I haven't seen that one.
You got to check it out. It's on Netflix. It's called Rand University because he grew up in Rand, West Virginia, which is a very, I wouldn't call it a rundown town, but there's not a lot of job opportunities there, and there's not a lot of people of color there. But the people of color there basically are like superb athletes, but they never made it out of Rand, West Virginia. So they started calling the gas station that's a 7-Eleven there, they started calling it Rand University. And that's where like all of the athletes that came before Randy would go like hang out, smoke, whatever, because they never made it out. And Randy was like, I want to be one of the guys that make it out of here because I don't want to be another person over there on that wall smoking weed, dope, whatever. I've got to get out of here. I've got to make it out. Wow. And that was kind of my thing growing up. I was like, once I get out of this little town, I'm never coming back. But I ended up coming back simply because, my father died in 14. I wanted to take care of my mom, but I ended up going to college. I ended up going overseas, doing some things and seeing the world. So when I come back home, I've got stories to tell some of these other people that maybe not didn't have the opportunity to get out there and see what I see.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a blessing too, because a lot of times, people will leave and then we're just gone, right. and for you to come back and be able to, share those stories and experiences, that's big too, because that actually helps the next generation, right? They see that you can actually get out and what you can accomplish and what you can go see.
Right. And, some of the, like I said, I had a good growing up, man, but some of the other people of color here in this town, you know, they grew up in, the projects, one parent households, and, they didn't get a chance to go to college like I did. They didn't get a chance to go see the world like I did. So to them, when I come home, I was a sellout because I left. But to some of the other people, when I left and come back, it's just like, hey, glad to have you home. Let's hear some of your stories. Let's
Mhm.
places you've been or whatever. Like it was more welcoming. But for some, it was kind of like you thought you're better. You always did think you were better than us, and you left and whatever. And I was still here. And I'm like, dude, like you had the same opportunity that I had. Some of them did, some of them didn't. But some of the ones that I'm talking about, they had the same opportunities I had to leave, go to college. They just didn't do their work in high school, whatever. And then by the time senior year comes, they're far behind, and I'm ready to get out of here. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is.
Right. You can't make it. You can't make everybody happy.
Yeah, you can't
You
make everybody
can't
happy,
at all.
but it
You
is
know.
what it is. I love what I'm doing. As far as my everyday job and my the outdoor brand, I love getting on here and listening to people's stories, just seeing how they grew up, and just seeing just the different states that they're in, how they got into the outdoors and stuff like that. My grandfather died when he was 97 years old. He was born in 1912.
Wow.
So the stories that he had to tell us when we were kids, I've always enjoyed listening to him talk about, growing up during the Great Depression and stuff like that. So I've always been big on stories. So when I started my podcast, that was the main thing that I wanted to focus on is like the story aspect of how people grew up, you know, stuff like that. And it's just real been big to me, and I'm blessed to say that I have this platform where I can get on here and interview basically everybody that I want to interview and just hear the stories. I love listening to stories, man.
Yeah, it's like that. You have a weekly hunt camp basically,
Yeah,
because you know how it is when you get to hunt camp and guys get to telling you these stories. Oh yeah, my oldest son, he was about 8 years old and took him out, and and you get into those stories, and those old time stories from the guys who've been doing it before us is invaluable. Just the experiences and the emotions that they can convey of what happened during this hunt and at this time. And yeah, man, it's a real blessing to be able to reach out and talk to people from like all over and hear the different stories. Because matter of fact, my buddy Justin, the one that I know out in Idaho, just listening to his stories, and because he does elk hunting a little different, and I'm hoping to actually get out and hunt with him, where he has a plane, and he actually uses his plane to go scout. And that's how far back he wants to get in,
yeah,
and once he locates a herd, then he goes, lands the plane, and then goes after the herd. I mean, but it's a deep way in. So it's very interesting. And just hearing those stories and how he got into that. And it's just a different aspect, and it's very refreshing to hear other people's take on how they get it done.
yeah. I love it. It's awesome. And I don't know if you follow Trey, my buddy Trey, the Dreaded Archer
The Dreaded
podcast.
Archer, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
but
follow him.
me and him are pretty close. And like when I first met him, he had me on his podcast, and so once he had me as a guest, I started following, his basically everything that he did. And Trey has a very unique way of telling stories. Like I could listen to Trey talk all day long, just the way he tells a story and like the passion that he has in it. Like it's awesome to see like how he interviews his guys, because I've got a certain platform that I kind of go by, but I also want to kind of wing it because I don't want it to feel like it's plain. I just want it to flow. But the way he does it, man, it's like one person he can interview like this, but wherever the conversation takes it, he just lets it ride.
Right.
And the way like he tells stories, man, like he's a great storyteller. And like I said, I love stories. I could listen to that man talk all day. So if y'all out there and want to hear some, some really good stories from Trey, follow the Dreaded Archer podcast on Carbon Media TV. I think he just won an award for the best podcast of 2024. So shout out to him. Not saying that just because he's my boy. I'm saying that because like I really truly believe that what he's doing. And I swear, like, I could listen to him just talk all day. I could just, when I interviewed him, man, like I pretty much let him take the reins.
Yeah.
I just let him talk.
Yeah, he had that was a really good interview. I remember him talking about his wife being with him during the hunt and all that, and the way he was getting into it. Yeah, he definitely gets pretty animated and very, very good storyteller.
What I love about Trey, the whole, he's a big football guy growing up. He was in the military as well, but I can't remember if him or his brother didn't have a very good relationship with their father, and I can't remember which one it was, but like they go on a yearly trip with their father now, and like basically hunting as we call it here in Kentucky, saved their relationship because going out there and bonding that week or 2 weeks that they're out there and the camaraderie that they have with each other out in those woods, man. Like that podcast, like that part when I was interviewing him, man, like that about brought me to tears hearing that, what I'm saying? Because it was like one of them things like, wow, like you just don't see something, you don't think something like this can bring somebody that close together, but it can, and I'm seeing it all over social media right now. There's actually a guy on YouTube. I've got to find him, but he took this guy is black guy. He's a white guy. He's a big fisherman. I think he's on like the Bass Pro Tour or whatever. He took this guy. I'll have to send you the link if I can find it. Took this guy from. He was a big gang member. He'd been shot 3 or 4 times. Never been fishing before a day in his life. And the smile that he put on this man's face, just taking him fishing, and the stories that they were telling while he was on that boat, dude, it would damn near bring you to tears. Just the way he grew up and whatever. And this man took the time out of his busy day, busy schedule to take this man fishing and show him how to fish, show him how to use a rod and reel, stuff like that, dude. It's a tearjerker.
Yeah, man. I've been trying. I always put myself out there and tell people if they want to learn. We've had a couple friends, go out for their first couple hunts and different things like that. But these are guys I've known for quite a while, right? And they're not in a bad way. And I want to reach the youth. I want to reach the kids, just like you were saying, man. Let's get some of these inner city kids out there. There's a kid that works with me, younger kid, and he's like, hey, as soon as I'd never even met him at work, and as soon as he found out that I was a hunter, he came and sought me out. Hey, you Lou? Like, yeah, that's me. He's like, hey, you hunt? Yeah. It's like, man, I've never been hunting before. He's like, is it possible? I was like, before he could even finish the question, yes. If you want to go, I will definitely take you out. We will definitely get it done. I will show you the ropes. I'll tell you from hunter safety all the way on up. We will go through it step by step. Absolutely. But a lot of people have the enthusiasm, but they don't always finish the whole process. Yeah. Right. So that's where I'm at, man. I'm still here. I'm still, willing and definitely, I have the means to do it. So let's do it. If you guys want to come out and want to go hunting and learning, to be out in the woods and what to look for and different things like that, we could definitely do it.
Yeah, me and Trey was talking about I think his is going to be a little more in the making than mine is. Mine is probably going to still be at least 3 to 4 years out, but talking about having, bust the kids in and showing them how to, shoot a bow, skin a deer, just different things, like just teaching them outdoors thing. But I also at mine kind of want to just teach man skills. Like how many kids out there right now that might be going on job interviews trying to get a job, they can't tie a tie. They can't tie a bow tie or a regular tie,
Right.
Just different things, just small change a tire, different things like that. Just give them
life skills.
Life skills. Yeah, how to sew, how to cook, how to bake, how to make your own, make your own roof or your gumbo, stuff like that. I kind of want to make it like possibly like a weekend thing or maybe a little more, but I want, competitions because I want to see who's the best of the best out there, but everybody's going to leave with something. Nobody's going to leave thinking that they are defeated. Everybody's going to leave thinking, like, hey, man, this is something I can do. This is something new that I can add to my resume that could possibly keep me out of jail or keep me out of the graveyard. And that's always been my big thing. Like, I love kids, and I want to see every kid out there, whether they're black, white, yellow, blue, whatever. I want to see them all succeed. Right. And that's a big thing with me. I want to lead to my son is everything that my dad taught me, I'm going to teach my son, and maybe he can teach his son or daughter, and it just continues. And it's real big in me, man. That's the end goal.
So a lot of things that our forefathers, told us, and that we were too hard-headed to listen to, are now coming around, right? So I remember my dad used to say that he's from the West Indies, and he used to say American kids are spoiled rotten, whatever. All right, yeah, whatever, Dad. And here I am. Right. So and it also goes into like the way I hunt, because I like to actually get off into the woods. I don't like being on the path. I don't like being the one that has, just sit there. And I mean, of course, I do have hunting blinds and different things like that, but I'd much rather get off in the woods, follow trails, look for sign, and do it the harder way, or more with more woodsmanship. And I think that I don't want that art to be lost by the youth. I want them to understand that, hey, you can navigate by the sun, moon, and stars. You can get through the woods and not have to be terrified. It's not the movies. It's not, you're not going to get attacked by a wolf man or anything like that, but you do have to be aware.
Yeah, you gotta be aware. That's for sure.
Right. And show them those things they need to be aware of, show them how to understand that you don't want to eat that mushroom. That will make you really sick. And, different things like that, identifying trees. That's big in woodsmanship, especially if you're hunting. You need to know where you need to go, what they're using as food, what they're using as cover. So these things, we want to get to the youth. We want to give them the opportunity, and I do believe like platforms like yours and the Dreaded Archer and different things like that lets them know that, hey, there are people out there look like me and do this, and they're willing to help. They're willing to teach us, and all they got to do is just reach out, and don't be afraid to be vocal about it.
Yeah, that's right. My grandmother, she was a big historian. That's where I get my love for history from. That's what my degree was in from college because of her. But she would always say, like, our ancestors, they had it the roughest, of course, but they also knew navigation. They knew, woodsmanship. They knew how to survive, basically. And if you take and look at like some of the songs that we still sing now, like in church, like Wade in the Water. That's, they had these codes that they would tell each other to keep away when they're escaping off that plantation, where to go.
Yeah.
Following the North Star, following the drinking gourd, following the north side of the moss growing on the side of the tree, stay in the water because the dogs can't get you.
Right.
Like, if you take it back that far, it's amazing because, and you can still use it in the woods today. Yep. It's not as intense as you're, trying to fight for your freedom, trying to get free. But some of those same things apply. When you're walking through the woods and you're about to go over like a log, put both feet on that log, look over there. Right. There might be a cottonmouth or snake come over. You just don't want to step over and get bit. You know what I'm saying? It's those little things that you just kind of look over in the woods, man. And then you start going back and looking at our ancestors and the way that they navigated, trying to, search for a better life, man. It's just, it's awesome to think about,
Right. And I think that's our job, right? As the next generation and as these generations come through, to make sure that we pass this on, so it's not forgotten. And it seems like it should be easier to do, with social media and different things like that, but just doesn't seem that way with the numbers from, hunter recruitment and retaining and hunters. But we just got to keep on pushing, man. Keep on pushing,
man. Heck yeah. But so I asked everybody this question. Well, I got two more questions pretty much, and I'll get you off here, man. But hypothetical question. You've got inner city kid, male, comes to you and it's basically like, hey, I'm getting in a lot of trouble at school. I'm getting in a lot of trouble with at home. The gangs are after me. I come from a one-parent household. I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to put something new on my resume. I want to get into the outdoors. I want to get into the arts. I want to get into something that can get me out of the situation that I'm in. What advice would you give them?
All right. Well, if he's wanting to get into the outdoors, the biggest thing that I'm going to ask first is how much do you want to get into the outdoors? Is it a real thing? Something you just want to dabble in? Is it just something that you're just trying to, or are you like, hey, I really want to get into the outdoors? No matter what the answer is, you get him into the outdoors. Right. Right? So if he's just like, hey, I just want to dabble. Hey, I just want to see what it's about. Or he's like, hey, I really don't know anything about it and I really want to know about it. All right, let's get you in the outdoors. If he's, you got to get him in the right way. It's sometimes it's you can't just put him in the darkness and and have him wondering what's that howling behind him, right? Sometimes you want to just ease him into it, where you go to one of the parks or reserves where you can go camping, set a fire, they might need some kind of amenities, right? You want to ease them in. A lot of times I think we scare people away by just bringing them, straight out into the deepest and darkest parts of hunting, and just showing them the worst and seeing if they can live through it and then go from there. I think a lot of times it's the way we get them into it, because they've already heard horror stories. They've already got, a preconception. So we probably need to just work on how we get them into it. That my situation, my property, my lease is 3,000 acres. I mean, I've got a pretty, it's not glamping by any means. I mean, you're out there, and if it's cold outside, you're cold. There are ways to get you warm with the campers and different things like that. But I'm not going to, when I say I'm taking people out to hunt and they're first timers and stuff like that, they're not going to be uncomfortable. They are not going to have a bad time. It's going to be a great time. They're going to eat great food. They're going to learn a lot. But it's not going to be one of those things where you're going to go back with some horror stories or you're going to be frightened or anything like that. I think we really got to make sure that we lead people into it the right way and not just shock them into it.
Right. Yeah. That's a great answer, because I get a lot of people that's, first timers is like, hey man, I want to go deer hunting. I'm like, first timer, I don't think you want to go deer hunting, because you're sitting there, for hours on hours on hours waiting for this deer. There's no action. So
Right.
I said, how about I take you dove hunting? Or how about I take you rabbit hunting? I said, but first, let's see how you shoot your shotgun. Here's the safety, here's the safety on the shotgun. Here's how you run the shotgun or whatever, to make sure they're comfortable with that. And then, dove hunting, man, you're constantly banging if you're on some birds, and it's fun, Same thing with duck hunting. I know you've never been, but if you get on a good best of birds out there in the timber or even in the open field, it's a constant. You're constantly shooting. But first timers, I don't think we need to start taking them deer hunting at first, just because of how boring it can be. For us, it's we're out there in nature, we're enjoying, listening to the squirrels and listening to the birds and whatever. But for a first timer, they're sitting out there, it's like, this is it.
Right.
You kind of want to, like you said, get them in to something where there's a lot of action, and then slowly go to that next step. It's like, okay, this is one side of hunting, but this is also the other side,
Right.
So yeah. But I definitely got to get you in the waterfowl.
Yeah. I mean, just listening to the stories, man, I'm very intrigued. I actually had a conversation with a gentleman in Georgia, and he was telling me, he's like, he's never deer hunted. All he's done is waterfowl.
Right.
And he's like, yeah. And he said, man, I've had friends that waterfowl hunt, that deer hunt. So yeah, it's fun, but they still come back and waterfowl. He said, I've had people who deer hunt come over to waterfowl and then stop deer hunting. I was like, oh, whoa, yeah. That's big.
I'm a huge deer hunter. I love it. I don't think that passion will ever leave. But
same.
That is something about chasing that greenhead, man, and them birds, man. It's, you do it one time, man, and especially if your first time is a good hunt, you're gonna be a waterfowler. You're gonna be getting on Roger Sporting Goods and Max Prairie Wing, looking for all kind of gear and whatever. It can get expensive, just like anything else. You just kind of got to stay within your means. But it's one of the things, man. I just tell everybody, like, you've got to try it at least one time in your life, and I promise you, it won't let you down. It's a feeling that it's one of them things, like, you just got to get out there and do it for yourself. Like, I can talk about it all day long and the passion that I have for it, but until you do it, and once you do it, you'll understand. But
right on.
But the next question I got for you, man, if you could hunt anywhere for anything, where are you going? What are you hunting for? And what equipment?
Well, I think it's going to be something where I won't be able to answer the last part of that question, but it would be diving for pelagic fish off of those oil rigs out in the Gulf.
Well, Huh. That's a different answer than I've gotten before.
Yeah, because I mean, I love fishing. I love going 80 miles offshore and going, redfish fishing and different things like that, and love diving. But if you talk about an adventure, going for it, and anything, if I could go anywhere, yeah, I'd love to dive an oil rig and go spearfishing that way.
Okay, that's that's something different that I've got before, but everybody's got their own thing, man. That's why the outdoors is outdoors, man. You're gonna get 1,000 different answers.
Yeah, that's a dream for me. That would be a bucket list for me. Yeah,
that's cool, man. You need you're in Florida, man. You need to hit up my boy Easy. He's a barber. I'm not sure where in Florida he is, but he's one of the 24/7 hunt boys. He's the barber. Easy Living is his name. He's in Florida somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big fisherman, big duck hunter, big hunter. Period, man. He would be the guy that you would need to hook up with to go, because he's always on a boat somewhere in the springtime.
Right on.
Fall, in the fall or winter time, he's chasing birds. So, but heck yeah, man. Easy. Yeah, Easy's my guy, man. I love him to death. He's a great dude, and I love what he's doing out here with not only his barbershop, but what he's doing for the outdoors as well with 24/7 hunt boys. So,
right on.
But yeah, man. I appreciate you hopping on this podcast with me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. It's been a good one, and anything that I can help you with going forward, you got my number. You got all my social medias, man. If I can do anything for you, man, just reach out, man. I'd be more than happy to help you.
Absolutely, man. And same here, man. Like I said, I hunt North Florida. I'm right at the Florida-Georgia border in Florida, and I've got plenty of hogs. I know you keep saying you want to do a hog hunt.
Man, that's on my bucket list. Like, I want to get it done this year. Like, that's going to be one of my main goals this year, is to harvest a hog with my bow. And I've gotten a bunch of people that's like, hey, man, we got hogs here, but most people know, like, I had a accident at work a couple months ago, so I've been on sideline. I'm just hoping everything, I can get over that, so I can because hunting season, it ends January 31st here, so I'm looking forward to turkey season now. And then once turkey season ends, I want to travel a little bit, and I got some buddies in Texas that's been trying to get me down there, and then you're in Florida, and I want to get out and do some traveling, do some hunting. But definitely this year, somewhere I'm going, and I'm going to harvest some hogs. I don't care where I gotta go. So I don't mind getting in the truck and driving. I'm not a big flyer, but if I gotta get on a plane, it is what it is. But
yeah, man. Open invitation for sure.
Appreciate it, man. So how can people get a hold of you if they want to holler at you about anything on social media or anything?
Best way, Wild Game James. All one word. Do believe in on Instagram, and other than that, on YouTube as well. Wild Game James. Either way, hit me up.
Yeah, his YouTube channel is dope as well. I was down that rabbit hole a couple weeks ago, following some of your videos or whatever. So, but yeah, man, this podcast will be out on Apple's Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, my personal YouTube channel. If you're on Apple or Google or any of those, please give a review, leave a 5-star rating. It helps with the podcast, helps me out, and helps the podcast. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. 2025, I'm going to try to up it a little bit. Try to get more guests on, more big names if I can. If not, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. Everybody seems to like what I'm doing now. Like I said, I love the stories that people tell when they get on here. And 9 times out of 10, they grew up just like I did. Your story is very unique, and I love it because of where, coming from Brooklyn and Florida, man, that's a dope story. And I hope people actually take time to listen to this one. But if y'all get any questions, man, just reach out to me, reach out to Wild Game James. But other than that, man, big game, small game, all game, we do this too.